Susan Palmer had spent 22 years climbing the corporate ladder at a Portland marketing firm, where colleagues knew her as someone who never admitted she was wrong. At 39, she had built a reputation on challenging authority and dismissing what she called outdated thinking, whether company policy or expert advice. 3 weeks before her Yellowstone trip, Susan watched a nature documentary called Living with Grizzlies that showed researchers peacefully observing bears from close range. She replayed the footage multiple times, convinced she had unlocked secrets that park rangers were too afraid to acknowledge. Her husband later told investigators she spent entire evenings critiquing what she called fear-mongering wilderness regulations, insisting that bears were misunderstood gentle giants being demonized by an overly cautious system. Susan had booked an $800 budget wilderness experience through a discount travel website, specifically choosing the cheapest guided hike available in Yellowstone's backcountry. On the morning of July 8, 2018, temperatures climbed past 82 degrees as her group of 12 hikers gathered at the Lamar Valley trailhead for the mandatory safety briefing. The lead ranger, a weathered man named Tom Hutchins, who had worked in Yellowstone for 23 years, stood before the group holding a canister of bear spray. He explained that grizzly bears could weigh up to 900 pounds, run at speeds reaching 35 miles per hour, and had been increasingly active in the area over the past week. He emphasized 3 critical rules: carry bear spray at all times, make noise while hiking to avoid surprising bears, and never approach cubs under any circumstances. Susan interrupted him twice, loudly insisting that bear spray was chemical abuse that traumatized animals unnecessarily. When Hutchins offered to rent her a canister for $15, she refused, citing her documentary as proof that respectful coexistence did not require weapons. The trail wound through dense lodgepole pine forest, where fresh grizzly scat steamed on the path and deep claw marks scarred tree trunks at heights exceeding 9 feet. Hutchins pointed out these warning signs, explaining that a sow with cubs had been spotted in this exact corridor just that morning. Susan rolled her eyes and muttered audibly about Park Service propaganda designed to justify unnecessary regulations. 30 minutes into the hike, the group paused near a clearing where Hutchins radioed headquarters to confirm the route was still safe. While the others waited on the marked trail, Susan noticed movement in the meadow roughly 40 yards away. 2 grizzly cubs, each weighing perhaps 60 pounds, wrestled playfully in the tall grass. Susan pulled out her phone and stepped off the trail, ignoring multiple hikers who called for her to stop. She moved closer, closing the distance to approximately 15 yards, while the group's shouting grew more desperate. The sow emerged from the tree line without warning. She stood 7 feet tall on her hind legs, her massive frame blocking out the sun as her eyes locked onto Susan. The bear dropped to all fours and charged, covering the distance in less than 4 seconds. The tour boat departed Telegraph Cove at 9 a.m. under clear skies with 16 passengers and Captain Derek Morrison, who had run whale watching operations for 18 years without incident. Derek explained that federal regulations required all vessels to stay 100 meters from orcas, roughly a football field's length. He told the group that orcas are apex predators weighing up to 12,000 pounds, with 4-inch teeth and jaws powerful enough to crush sea lion skulls. Patricia interrupted 3 times, arguing loudly that distance rules were corporate propaganda designed to keep people afraid. She cited scenes from the documentary Blackfish showing trainers swimming with orcas, insisting wild populations were even safer because they were not stressed by captivity. When Derek refused to approach closer, she threatened a 1-star review. 40 minutes into the tour, Derek spotted 6 orcas moving north about 150 meters away. He explained these were transient orcas that hunt marine mammals, making them more aggressive than fish eating resident pods. Patricia immediately complained they were too far for photos and demanded Derek move closer. When he refused and radioed their position to other operators, Patricia noticed a kayaker in the distance maintaining legal distance. Without permission, she climbed into the small Zodiac support vessel tied alongside and untied the rope. Before anyone could stop her, she started the outboard motor and steered directly toward the pod while Derek frantically radioed the Coast Guard. Patricia closed to 30 meters, her Zodiac bouncing over swells as the orcas continued hunting. The largest male surfaced 10 feet away, his dorsal fin standing 6 feet tall. Patricia grabbed her paddle and slapped it on the water 3 times, exactly like trainers did in the documentary during play sessions. The orca dove immediately, disappearing into dark water. For 5 seconds, nothing moved. Then the ocean exploded as 8,000 pounds of muscle breached beside her, the orca's body rising 12 feet before crashing onto the Zodiac's stern. The hull cracked like an eggshell. Patricia was thrown into 48-degree water that seized her chest like an electric shock. The orca circled twice in slow, investigative movements. On the second pass, it bumped her torso hard enough to crack 3 ribs and puncture her left lung. Patricia tried to scream, but only gurgled as blood filled her chest. The Coast Guard arrived 14 minutes later, pulling her blue body from the water. She died during helicopter transport to Victoria, her core temperature at 82 degrees. Investigation revealed the tour company had hired an unlicensed Zodiac operator who failed to secure the vessel or stock cold water survival gear. Mandatory safety inspections had been skipped for 8 months due to budget cuts. Patricia had learned from one documentary that orcas were harmless victims, but the real killer was not the whale. It was the tour operator who cut corners while she chased an illusion. Jennifer Ramos had worked as a real estate agent in Phoenix for 12 years, but after watching a documentary about wolf reintroduction in Yellowstone, she became convinced she could communicate with predators through calm energy and body language. She was 41 years old and had a reputation for dismissing expert advice after watching one nature program. Her friends said she had spent months talking about how wolves were misunderstood family animals who only attacked when humans projected fear. She booked a budget cabin in Montana wolf territory to prove respectful observation was all anyone needed. It was November 3rd, 2020, and early snow blanketed the forest outside Gardner, where wolf activity had increased as packs prepared for winter hunting. Property manager Sarah Chen, who had lived in wolf country for 23 years, met Jennifer to review safety protocols. Sarah explained guests must never approach wolves, stay inside after dusk, when packs hunt most actively, and report all sightings immediately. Gray wolves weigh up to 180 pounds, with bite forces exceeding 1,500 pounds per square inch, strong enough to crush elk leg bones. They hunt in packs of 6 to 10 using coordinated strategies. Jennifer interrupted twice, arguing wolves only attacked when humans acted threatening. She cited documentary scenes showing researchers observing wolves from short distances, insisting animals could sense peaceful intentions. When Sarah explained those were habituated research subjects in controlled studies, Jennifer dismissed her completely. On her second evening, Jennifer spotted 4 wolves moving through trees 80 yards from the cabin at dusk. Their gray coats blended with the shadowed forest as they tracked a deer herd. She grabbed her camera and stepped outside, moving toward the pack while keeping relaxed body language like researchers in the film. The wolves stopped when Jennifer crossed 50 yards, heads turning in unison with yellow eyes locked on her. At 30 yards, the alpha female lowered her head, ears flattening in warning. Jennifer saw curiosity instead of aggression and kept walking. At 20 yards, the pack began fanning into a semicircle. She crouched down to appear smaller and less threatening, raising her camera. The alpha lunged in 3 bounds, covering 20 yards in under 2 seconds before slamming into Jennifer's chest hard enough to crack her sternum. Jennifer screamed as she fell backward, camera flying from her hands. The wolf's jaws clamped her right forearm, canines punching through her jacket to scrape bone. 2 more wolves joined immediately, one seizing her ankle while another tore at her shoulder in coordinated movements designed to bring down prey. Jennifer thrashed as teeth ripped muscle, blood spreading across white snow. The wolves shook their heads violently to deepen wounds while a fourth circled waiting. Her screams weakened to wet gasps as shock set in. The 90-second attack ended when wolves suddenly released and retreated 15 yards, muzzles red. Sarah heard screaming from the office 200 yards away and grabbed an air horn and spotlight. She ran, blasting the horn in bursts that drove the pack into the forest. Jennifer was barely conscious, with massive wounds bleeding from her arm, shoulder, and leg. The ambulance arrived 28 minutes later. Jennifer survived, but needed 8 surgeries and never regained full arm mobility. Investigation revealed the owner failed to install required perimeter lighting and motion alarms that would have warned of wolf proximity. Wildlife reports showed previous guests had fed the pack, creating dangerous associations the owner never disclosed. Jennifer watched one documentary and thought she understood pack dynamics, but the real predator was not the wolves. It was the property owner who hid known dangers to keep bookings coming. Rachel Torres had spent 9 years managing a boutique hotel in Austin, but after watching one documentary about elephant sanctuaries in Thailand, she decided she understood these animals better than mahouts who'd worked with them for generations. The 38-year-old had built a reputation among staff for overconfidence after brief research. Her coworkers said she'd spent weeks before her Thailand trip in March 2021 lecturing everyone about how elephants were gentle giants who responded to kindness and respect, not the dangerous wild animals traditional handlers claimed. She booked the cheapest elephant encounter available at a rural sanctuary outside Chiang Mai, telling friends she wanted authentic interaction without exploitative riding or chains. During the mandatory safety briefing, the handler explained guests must never stand directly behind elephants, approach calves, or make sudden movements. Asian elephants weigh up to 11,000 pounds and can crush a human skull with one step. Their trunks contain 40,000 muscles capable of lifting 600 pounds, or precisely plucking a single blade of grass. Rachel interrupted twice, insisting the documentary proved elephants were safe when treated with dignity. She dismissed warnings as outdated methods designed to control animals through fear. 15 minutes into her visit, Rachel noticed a mother elephant with her calf standing near a water trough 30 feet away. Ignoring explicit instructions, she walked directly toward the calf to get close-up photos, her phone raised. The mother's ears flared wide immediately, spreading to nearly 6 feet across in a clear threat display the handler had specifically described. Rachel kept approaching, now within 10 feet, cooing at the baby like it was a pet. The mother charged without hesitation, her massive bulk covering the distance in 3 thundering strides. She swung her trunk like a club, the impact lifting Rachel completely off her feet and throwing her 8 feet backward into a wooden fence post. Rachel's spine shattered on impact, her scream cutting short as paralysis spread instantly through her lower body. The mother elephant reared up on hind legs and brought both front feet down onto Rachel's chest, crushing her ribcage and rupturing internal organs. The attack ended in under 15 seconds. Rachel died before the ambulance arrived 40 minutes later. Investigation revealed the sanctuary had no emergency medical equipment on site, and handlers weren't trained in crisis response protocols required by Thai tourism boards. The mother elephant had been showing stress behaviors for weeks that management ignored to maintain visitor schedules. Rachel watched one documentary and thought she knew better than centuries of elephant handling wisdom, but the real killer wasn't the elephant. It was the sanctuary that prioritized profit over safety while she walked straight into predictable danger.